Sheriff, when you're ready, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Good afternoon. Hope it's not too loud here. I really want to just start off saying that I'm a two-term sheriff, working on my third term, married to my beautiful wife Denise Williams. I have 2 children that are adults, and I have 3 grandchildren. I would like to tell you that this is fun, but it's not. We've all been just drugged through the ringer for the last year and a half, and it's been kind of tough. But I'm very thankful that the room is pretty full. It was very full in Copper's Cove, and I'm just here to give my point of view, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Ms. Snicker.
My name is Danny Suniga. I've been a resident here in Corio County for going on 17 years. We've been married to my husband for 17 years. We've got 2 boys. They're going to be teenagers. One is homeschooled, one is in the junior high here in Gatesville. I've been in law enforcement since 2014. I've made my way up through patrol. I've worked several different aspects in the department of the sheriff's office. And again, we're ready to see change here in Corio County, and the citizens have voiced that they want the change.
Mr. Buster.
Most of you know me. Most of you don't. I'm J.C. Buster, born and raised here in Corio County. Sorry about the mic, guys. We did a sound check just a minute ago, but I want to start off with just introducing myself and going with experience. I'm the only candidate that has their master peace officer license. How do you get that? Time, experience, education is how you get that. So when I speak about experience, I have it through tenure and training. I started out at Corio County Sheriff's Office for Johnny Burst in 2006, where I was the court bailiff and the patrol deputy. I then went to work for Nathan Goki at Gatesville PD. There, he tasked me with a lot of different jobs, from being the DARE officer, to doing the drug buster program, to working National Night Out events, the PR work. Then he promoted me to sergeant. Sergeant there, I ran with it along with my co-sergeant, and we had a great time. I left there only for one reason. There was a need for law enforcement in Jonesboro. I was asked, and at first I declined, and I was asked to pray on it. But we did. After we got done praying, we decided that there is a need for law enforcement out there, and it's just the nature of the beast being at the county line. There's no fault of other agencies. So we built and maintained a police department out there, and I've been there since 2019. Thank you.
First up, according to public documents, the county is over $9.1 million in debt. With that being said, what plans do you have to address jail overcrowding and infrastructure issues the jail faces? Mr. Buster, you may begin.
I believe the easiest to stop getting civil lawsuits. There's plenty of open record was civil lawsuit against the sheriff's office. Most of them being for lack of medical attention. We can work within our budget. Besides that would save the county lots of money. 19 is a large number of lawsuits. So we start there. We also start by employee retention. It takes a lot of money to train somebody and then let them go. So my focus would be on leadership, improving leadership, to build a better culture, to keep people that are working, to keep the lawsuits down because they have a great work environment, and to move forward with the budget as the commissioner court presents it. Thank you.
Ms. Snicker.
With the budget the way it is, to help combat that, it is going to be not hiring bodies to fill positions. You're looking to hire people who are going to stay there. We've also got an issue that it hasn't been this whole environment. When you work somewhere and you're there 12, 14 hours a day away from your family, you need that aspect of where you work. You need to be able to trust who you're working with, know that they're going to be there for you. You also need to know that you're going to be able to go to them with concerns when they say that they have an open door policy. But if no one's in that chair when we go to them, we're not able to get those concerns across to them. With the jail, there was overcrowding, talking about that, touch base on this in the last day. It's also a thin line. Like, you have to be mindful of who you are arresting, because if you go after just specific cases that have warrants, you send a message to the victims on these other cases that their cases are not important enough to go after them. So we've got to make sure that we get the most harsh criminals off the streets, to keep them from reoffending, get them through the system, and trust the court system to do their process.
First and foremost, we just built a 47-bed jail expansion. It was just a Band-Aid, and it cost to the tune of a little north of $7 million. We also pay $100 a day to house our inmates out of county. If you figure that up at about 80 that's out right now, that's $8,000 a day. We're gonna be able to utilize 40 of those beds that are brought to us. So that's still gonna leave 40 out of county. That's still $4,000 a day times 365. We need to start desperately entertaining on building a new facility, because right now we're just throwing money out the window with no return. With a jail built, in 20 years, that bleeding stops. That's the long term. I heard that civil lawsuits, well, I'm gonna tell you, you run a jail, you're the chief law enforcement officer of the county, somebody's gonna be unhappy and they're gonna wanna sue you. Well, that just comes with the job. As far as medical, I heard something about medical. We contract out of county with Southern Health Partners, and we pay them a considerable money to take care of our inmates. I'm a cop, I'm not a doctor, so I trust that Southern Health Partners is doing exactly what we pay them to do. Thank you.
The second question. To be successful, the sheriff must have budgeting and personnel management experience, as the Coryell County Sheriff's Office currently has a budget over $7 million and nearly 100 employees. Please provide specifics on your priorities for the office regarding departments and what qualities you see are needed in a chief deputy to assist you. Sheriff, you'll go first.
That's a pretty easy question for me. For the last For the last 7 years, I have authored and maintained a budget for the sheriff's office. And just like Mr. Buckley said, it's north of $7 million. I'm very proud that I have not busted that. My priorities, money. I'm going to tell you right now, salaries for the people that are out here fighting, for the people out here that are putting these people up, arresting them. We owe it to our constituents, we owe it to our victims, and we owe it to the criminal to get them locked up. My priorities, if you want to know, is to build a new jail so we can save that bleeding. And the second thing I would like to see is to raise the salaries where it is comparable with the agencies around us. We did a market analysis and we are one of the lowest paid agencies. I understand that we are challenged here in Coryell County because our tax revenue comes off of rooftops. You know, you're paying somebody below what they can go make, you're going to have a hard time retaining them. And you attract folks that cannot pass their certifications, that cannot be jailers, cannot be dispatchers, and cannot be deputies on the street. Well, if they can't do that, I don't need to just pay them to stand there. So my priorities, Mr. Buckley, will be to increase salaries to stop this bleed on this housing inmates out of county.
I want to see more deputies on the road. We need that coverage for our county. We need that coverage so we can make these community contacts, get back into our school systems as well. With the chief deputy, I'm going to surround myself with someone who has an ample amount of experience in that, someone who has budget experience. That's going to be the team that we build on. Somebody who has the knowledge, the years of experience. There we go. Yeah, we need the chief deputy, they need to have the experience, they need to have years of experience, they need to have somebody when you're out they can take over and do what's needed to be done while you're out of the office.
Mr. Busper, you have 2 minutes.
The chief deputy spot's very important. It's funny how the question's worded. I plan on having one chief deputy. I've put a lot of thought into it, and I'm looking for someone who's got experience. That's obvious, right? Because my whole campaign is about leadership and experience. I want someone who's been around the block, sheriff's office, or PDs, or even DPS. I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people who are interested in this position. Sorry about that. But integrity has to be the first thing. And someone who's willing to challenge me. Because everybody makes mistakes, and you have to have someone in place that's strong enough to tell you. So my major concern with my chief deputy is someone who'll stand up when I say something that's inappropriate or not correct. As far as the budget goes with the chief deputy, with experience and promotion throughout your tenure, you get more and more budget experience as you go. You start little and you work big, just like in any other business. So going back, I want someone who's went up the ranks, who's paid their dues, who's learned how to do a budget, and who's done not only the department budget, but their own personal finances are important to me as well. Thank you, Mr. Buckley.
Sure, so I'm going to interject here because it was a 2-part question. We're going to give you each a minute to respond. All of you. We'll start with you, Mr. Busman, and then go through. The first was asking specifically, what is your budgeting and personnel management experience as the sheriff's budget is over $7 million and nearly 100 employees? The second part of the question is, what are the qualities you see are needed in a chief deputy? So we want answers to both questions. We'll give you each a minute. Mr. Busman, you go first.
I believe I covered the chief deputy part. My experience from my tenure in the Gainesville PD all the way to my time at Jonesboro has been with the budget. Some small, some large. My biggest budget experience was with the Navy. You get a set budget, you stay in your budget, and you don't get to ask for more. We started a unit over in Waco with very little. We had to build a budget to promote the Navy Reserve Center, and then they deployed me shortly after that to Hawaii, where we worked an $80 million budget in about just under a year, between 8 months and a year. So I have plenty of experience with a large amount of money and small amount of money, but it's keeping the taxpayer at first, keeping your taxpayer first, and thinking this is not my money. It never was my money. It belongs to you.
Here, you have a minute.
I addressed it earlier. I'm the only one that's standing up here that's ever authored a budget. I'm the one that stands up here and has worked multiple budgets in several $1 million at a time, not just one shot at it. As far as my chief deputy, I've had 5 chief deputies since I've been the sheriff. One of them I put in jail. One of them had to leave me because he got very sick, and he's fighting hard for that. Another one walked out in the middle of the night. Another one decided he would take a job for $500 a day. The chief that I have right now, he has come all the way through the ranks, all the way from corporal to sergeant to lieutenant to chief deputy. He just didn't create a position. He has earned it.
Ms. Zuniga, you have a minute.
Thank you, budgeting. With small business, I'm a very successful small business owner myself. You've got to be able to surround yourself and have a working relationship with your commissioners, the auditors of Coryell County. You've got to be able to go to them and trust them, and they need to be able to trust you that y'all are going to get this done for the best interest of the citizens of Coryell County. Not only to provide them the superior service that they deserve, but also that's going to provide the services for your deputies at the sheriff's office. The chief deputy qualities, I touched base on it. I need somebody in there I can trust. I need somebody with experience. And we're not talking, 5-6 years experience for a chief deputy. You need somebody with, 10 to 15 years experience, somebody with budgeting experience as well.
Next question. Community engagement is crucial as hard drugs have reached the far corners of the county and even our school districts. What are your plans to enhance the relationship the sheriff's office has with other law enforcement agencies in the county and those nearby, along with other governmental agencies? Mrs. Nikki, go first.
Working with other agencies and law enforcement, that is a must. You've got to be able to have those good relationships. Just because your title is sheriff does not mean that you are the most important person in the county. You're not superior to these chief deputies and chief officers through these other departments. You can't show up on scene with them and then essentially just tell them, hey, this is mine now because I am the sheriff and I have the highest power in this county. You work together with them. Then, you've got to have that rapport with the drug stuff. You've got to have a strong narcotics unit. And make sure that you are working with both departments, or any department of law enforcement that is in your communities, to make sure that you're tackling everything that needs to be done.
Mr. Russell.
Being a school chief, an ISD chief, the whole program is about working with others. I feel like this question was kind of catered right towards my skill set. To be honest with you, it's a must or you don't survive. All right, you make connections with others. I want to start out saying that I've reached out to both Hamilton and Coryell County, because Jonesboro falls right there on the county line. It's a Coryell County school in Hamilton County. I don't know how that works out, but that's the way it works out. But you have to work with both agencies. And if you fall under Chapter 37 in one of the Texas codes, it'll tell you that you're supposed to have 3 safety meetings a year where everybody's invited. All law enforcement is invited. Not the mandatory one that was created this year, but the one that's been on the books for a while. And I've invited everybody. There's people in this audience who know I've invited everybody because you show up to my meetings. Matter of fact, there's just one in the audience that actually hosted, so I sit back as just another person watching in the meeting unfold. And it's about safety of our community. If I'm doing this at Jonesboro, why wouldn't I do this in Evan and Oglesby? I helped Gatesville establish theirs. If you ask Chief Stiles, he'll tell you that when he called and asked me when he started up the Gatesville ISD PD, and I literally said, anything you want, you can have. And I gave him everything I had to start up the PD. And then when he would call me with questions, I didn't hesitate to answer, and even sometimes saying, I didn't do it that way. This is how I did it. And then we talked about it. And then now he and I have also reached out to other schools and go, this is how you start an ISD PD. Saying all that, I've already started talking with other community members of free organizations and council members or court members on how we can work together to better our community, not just make myself look good.
Mr. Buster, you've crossed the timeline. Thank you. Sheriff?
Here's the deal. I keep hearing, oh, you're better than somebody, you're better than that, you're whatever. I'm this, I'm that. Well, here's the deal. If it was just me wearing the badge and I didn't have a jail and all I had to do was police up children, I would have a wonderful life. But unfortunately, I have about 160 inmates that have been triaged all the way up to pretty violent crimes because I don't want to waste my constituents' money. As far as working with other agencies, we are part of the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force. They travel all over the United States, all over the state of Texas, taking violent fugitives off the street. We are also part of the Heart of Texas Auto Theft Task Force. We are also part of the TAG, which is a gang task force that's stationed in McLennan County. I work hand in hand. I've been endorsed by multiple sheriffs. I've been endorsed by a lot of leaders within our community, endorsed with a lot of leaders in our state. I work hand in hand with, you know what, I have to be a little cocky, I have to be a little tough, but you know what, the government's the one that named me the chief law enforcement officer in the county. I can tell you one time where I threatened to take a scene, it was because our SWAT team was asked to come there. And if anybody refutes that, when SWAT shows up, it's their scene until we make it safe, and then we'll give it back to you after we get it cleaned up. That's it, period. That's all I got.
As we move forward, each candidate has publicly advocated for increased support for the sheriff's office, emphasizing the imperative for effective employee recruitment and retention strategy. While only one candidate will ultimately assume the role of sheriff, it is apparent that each of you is committed to advancing improvements within the office. Could you elaborate on your specific plans to enhance employee longevity? Additionally, in the event of an unsuccessful primary outcome, are you committed to maintaining dedication to the envisioned improvements and applying for a position within the administration of the successful candidate in the 2024 sheriff election? Two-part question, you have 2 minutes. Mr. Buster, we'll start with.
The second part is that would I apply? The answer would be no. I am happy where I'm at. I am excited to be where I'm at. I feel led to run for sheriff. This is not something that I took lightly, but if another candidate beats me, then they beat me, and it was God's will. Like I said, I'm happy where I'm at. Mr. Butler, will you say the first question?
Sure.
Please?
Could you elaborate on your specific plans to enhance employee longevity?
I think I've talked about this several times already. Man, you got to create a culture and a climate where people want to come to work for you. It's not about money. I've had numerous people reach out this week, and I'm thankful for all those you do. It's not about money. When I left the county, went to the city of Gatesville, I left for less money. But it was the environment that at that time that the city presented. And that's all I want to present. Make it the county. Make this a home. Make this a family. Make it where someone wants to show up to work and stay there. Where you have to go, hey, go on. We got this. Once you get that, you're winning. Your retention starts staying. People believe you when you say, I care. When someone leaves, you do an exit interview. You find out what could have gone wrong on your half or their half, or what could have been misunderstanding could have happened. There's plenty of stuff to do with just the exiting employees to correct the behavior you have inside the department. If you never address the department, it won't get better. It always gets worse. Thank you.
Sheriff, 2 minutes.
To address the second part of yours, no, I would not go to work for either of these individuals standing up here. It's nothing personal. It's just, wouldn't do it. Firstly, this room is full of my employees. I'm not gonna ask them to raise their hand, but I tell you what, I thank y'all for being here. I love you for being here. That says something. That says something when they jump out here and support their sheriff. What we have is a lot of the other races their machine is ran by the tears of those that can't wear my badge. I do not make any apologies for that. I will not waste y'all's money to maintain an agency that is full of civil liability. That is my job. That is what I'm supposed to do. And I will tell you, these folks here, they love me. They would die for me. I'm not the guy that's going to lead from the rear. I'm the guy that leads from the front. And I will tell you, if I offend you, I'm sorry. But I'm never going to lie to you. I'm never going to skirt the problem. And to keep my people, we're going to have to go back to my kind heart won't pay their electricity bill. We have to address that. Show your appreciation for them. I do every day. Thank you.
Ms. Seneca?
Addressing employee longevity, to have a good working relationship with your employees. There was a large number of employees who left the sheriff's office. And that was also, there is a group that did leave because they were terminated because they're not able to do the job. But on the other hand, you also have a group of people who are terminated and feel like they've been wrong. They've been wronged. And when you build that atmosphere up, you don't have proper people in leadership positions within the department. It breaks the trust down from those who are on the ground looking up. With longevity, I've had multiple officers who have left, to reach out and say, hey, if you do get elected, we will be back there. Right now, they're currently at jobs that are paying more than they were making here, so it is not a pay issue. With going back to work at the sheriff's office, we have probably a good mutual agreement that underneath the current sheriff, I will not be back there at that office. If the candidate John Buster gets it, and he's got the right people in these spots, he's got a backbone, he's doing what needs to be done, pushing the department where it needs to be going, absolutely, I would love to come back and work in this community. This is our home. This is where we planted our roots at, and this is where we want to be at.
Thank you. Two of you were directly named in that, so we'll go in order. Sheriff, you have 30 seconds.
In an earlier forum, one of the candidates spoke about how it takes up to $35,000 to hire somebody. You don't need to be wasting your money. Well, I will tell you, I'm not in the habit of hiring people 3 or 4 times. I give you a couple of chances. You can't stay longer than a year. I don't need you. I'm not going to waste another taxpayer dime on you.
Mr. Busker, 30 seconds per vote.
Danny, thank you. Appreciate that. And at this point, that's all I really got to say is thank you for the trust, Danny, if I had the right people around.
Danny, we're going to give you 30 seconds for rebuttal if you'd like. I think that was kind and not a dig, but he did directly reference you by name.
So just clarification, the reasons I left 2 times was to take care of my grandparents who were very ill. They ended up ultimately landing in the nursing home and ended up passing away. These are the grandparents who raised me since I was 2 years old. These are my parents. But obviously I wasn't that bad of an employee since he left me on as a reserve deputy both times, and my time was never broken from the department until I separated in June of 22.
Choose the term he. Sheriff, I'm going to direct that at you. 30 seconds, folks. We're going to stop it there and move to the next question.
Well, the last time someone left, it was because they were beaten by a 15-year veteran officer in a promotion board. When you've been a cop for 5 years and you've quit 2 or 3 times in that doesn't leave much time for experience.
Next question. In the context of the ongoing campaign season, it has become evident that social media discussions have spawned a proliferation of impassioned individuals, commonly referred to as keyboard warriors. Regrettably, this phenomenon has led to an emphasis on personal identities rather than substantive policy considerations. We would like to give each of you the opportunity to address any misconsiderations or misinformation that may be circulating on social media platforms concerning the primary campaign for the position of Coryell County Sheriff. Mrs. Niggle will start with you.
There's been a lot on social media, and it comes up during election times. And again, that's by citizens who are voicing, their concerns. They're voicing their wrongdoings that they felt that they have been done by those in office at that time. Their battles are their battles. That's not something that I'm going to entertain. I do not get on there and share their stuff. Their disputes are between themselves. You just have to, go with it. If stuff is brought up to you, address it. Keep it cordial. Keep it you don't have to get down into what they call the weeds or the rabbit hole. You can, get your point across and move on.
Sheriff?
No disrespect, but I'm not going to give any of those folks a second of my time on that question. But what I will say is, I appreciate the people that backed me because you spoke of experience, you spoke of integrity, you spoke of how we're doing the job and doing it the right way. Thank you for not getting in those weeds when people were maligning my character, my family's character, making vocal remarks about my wife. One individual sitting right there that very quick to overload their mouth when it comes to my family. Do what you will with me. I can take it. But you leave my family alone because I will do great and terrific things to defend my family.
Mr. Busker, 2 minutes.
I don't need 2 minutes. Chairman, but I'll make it quick. My Facebook, you can't see it today. Well, it was hacked this morning, sometime last night, which that happens, part of the deal. Not gonna blame anybody, but if you go back and look, or if you have been following me, there is no mudslinging. I had one person come out and say something negative, and then I figured out how to get a hold of their phone number, and I was like, if you put my name in your mouth, speaking for me, then I will publicly come out and say, I don't, but we're not a part of the team, because he's not. So I want to make that very clear, that there's one case in my situation where that's happened, and I addressed it immediately. I've learned over the years, we keep talking about experience in different agencies, but man, you learn that as a public official in any manner, that you don't respond on Facebook. You don't respond on Twitter. You can't win. If someone calls you out for something, you take it on the chin and you move forward. That's part of being professional. Mr. Chairman, that's all I got.
Now for the candidate cross-examination portion of tonight's debate. Each candidate sent in 2 questions by noon today for the moderator to direct at the candidates of their choosing. The respondent has 1 minute to answer the question. The questioner then has 30 seconds to rebut. No follow-up rebuttals by any other candidates, the questioner, or the respondent are allowed. These questions have not been shared with anyone and will be presented for the first time tonight. Is everybody on board? The first question comes from Mr. Buster to Sheriff Williams. Under your tenure, there have been multiple allegations against you for assault, losing your temper, and chastising citizens. 71 employees have been terminated in the last 2 years, numerous lawsuits and public altercations with other elected officials. With saying all this, are you, Scott Williams, a public official serving the public, or have you turned the Corio County Sheriff's Office into your personal playground? Before we give you the minute to respond, I just want to let the audience and anyone who may be watching live, as the moderator, I am reading these questions directly as they were sent to me. They were not altered or anything of the sort. So don't shoot the messenger literally, because I know you're all packing on stage. So Sheriff, you have a minute.
To address this assault or whatever they're talking about, you know what? I know the 2 people that are saying that, and you know what? Take me to a court of record. You bring your evidence and I'll bring mine, because I will tell you they are recorded, audio and video, and that never happened. Matter of fact, it was brought to a prosecutor. The prosecutor said, this is very foolish. We're not going to mess with this. So just because you lied about it, don't make it right. Next, as far as altercations with other elected officials, I don't call that altercation. I call that, heated debates, heated conversations. I'm very passionate. I'm going to fight tooth and nail for my people. Matter of fact, I stood up in Commissioner's Court here a few weeks ago just to make sure that our bailiffs got paid what they deserve. I'm going to be very passionate about it. I'm not a guy that's going to, excuse me.
30 seconds, Mr. Buster.
Altercation. You cannot change a definition just because you want to. 2, I wish there were only 2. I truly do. Well, if I take office, this will be looked into. Right? The chief deputy and the other supervisors will also look into this. This is a major issue. You should always be and maintain your professionalism when you're dealing with the public, and that includes other elected officials. Thank you.
Next question. Sheriff Williams, Ms. Seneca asked, when it comes to sexual harassment in the workplace, why is it when your friends are on the accused end, they are not terminated, only moved to another position, but you terminate 4 individuals at one time for a conversation they had? You have a minute.
Okay, here's the thing on this. Number one, Ms. Seneca doesn't know anything about any of the administrative stuff, just what she hears through the grapevine. This individual was demoted at the request of that particular dispatcher, did not want anything to happen to this individual, just did not want to be in the direct line of working with them. You know what? I honored that request. As far as the last 4 that got fired, I don't think it's a real fair thing to spend money on somebody leaving the county unmanned for up to 4 hours, playing a game between two dispatchers, a supervisor, and a patrol deputy that was supposed to be patrolling Coppers Cove in Coryell County, having a little game going down the employee roster of who they would have intercourse with, who they would kill, or who they would marry. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we need folks like that working at the Coryell County Sheriff's.
Sheriff's Department, thank you. Ms. Zuniga, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
First incident that I'm referring to where his friends are simply moved to other positions, there was a bailiff who brought the issue to my attention because she didn't know what to do. I took that concern to the chief deputy at the time, and he looked at it like we were being childish about it. Essentially wanted to make the bailiff take a lie detector test. I don't recall pulling citizens in and making them take lie detector tests whenever the friends are on the accused end.
Ms. Zuniga, this question comes from Sheriff Williams. You're running for the office of sheriff, which requires a commitment of 4 years per term and overseeing a department and jail with dozens of employees. Having that in mind, can you tell us what law enforcement experience you have as it pertains to how many agencies you have worked for and your tenure at each and any supervisory experience at those departments? You have a minute.
99% of my experience has been with the Coryell County Sheriff's Office. I started there in July of 2014 in dispatch. Sponsored to go through the academy by Johnny Burks just shy of a year later. Graduated from there. I've been a transport deputy. I've been a bailiff. I've served civil process. I was never allowed to be in a supervisory position. And the reason I'm saying that is because of the way that the boards were held. The first incident, they allowed a officer who I felt I was more qualified for. I was told, well, we had to dig really deep into it. Well, had they dug really deep into it, they would have seen his disciplinary record that there was already 2 things on there. My record was clean. And then they wait just over the year mark to demote him. The year mark is what they have to hold before they hold a whole new board for that position. And I was the only one left on that board for that position. So that tells me they simply just didn't want me in that position.
Sheriff, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Matter of fact, right before her and her husband quit the last time, they both came to me and said, you know what, Sheriff, we're good. We're not quitting. We were just angry. So I sat them both down and told them, both of them, that you came in number 2, and for the next year, I'm going to pull off of this list. All you got to do is be patient. Well, couldn't be patient. I left for a conference to go to a gang meeting, and I was gone 3 days, and they both quit, turned their letters of resignation in. And 2 weeks later, she would have had her choice, either patrol.
Sheriff, you crossed over. Thank you. Thank y'all for being respectful and not. Sheriff Williams, this question comes from Mr. Buster. It's your responsibility to keep the public safe and protected, even those who are incarcerated within your jail. However, there have been several suits filed within your tenure in reference to you and your jail staff refusing medical treatment to persons being housed within said jail. How do you call yourself a constitutional sheriff, but on a regular basis have denied these American citizens their rights for medical treatment? You have a minute.
I have never denied an inmate medical. The county has contracted with Southern Health Partners, like I said earlier. They are a contracted medical facility or firm, I guess you would call it. They come in and they take care of our inmates. As far as civil lawsuits, you know what? I make no bones about it. We had 2 inmate deaths in my jail. The sheriff prior to me had them too. We settled out of court for a no-fault judgment at $800,000. The reason that was settled because it was going to be over $2 million to get the same result. That was a business decision that was discussed by the Commissioner's Court and our risk assessment, which is TAC.
Mr. Buster, you have 30 seconds on rebuttal.
Man, that's the one number I didn't give was 800,000. That's one death lawsuit. There's 19 more or 18 more to go. I have spoken with some of the nurses that have left. And then if you look at the lawsuits, the open records request, it'll say refused medical treatment. You can't hide from those numbers. You can't modify those numbers. You can't talk about, well, I did my job or it's somebody else's fault. They refused.
Mr. Buster Cross, thank you. Next question. Sheriff Williams, Ms. Seneca asked, you mentioned you have a great relationship with the other elected officials in this county, but the remarks you made about the county judge during our last debate says otherwise. Do you feel you owe Judge Miller an apology for such remarks? You have 1 minute.
I don't know what comment you're speaking of. I mean, what I said was Judge Miller. He says a lot, but there ain't no substance. You know what? I don't see it's been disrespectful. I have a very good working relationship with my commissioners, with my district attorney, with my county attorney, my judges. A very good relationship. I don't think it was disrespectful at all. I think what was disrespectful is one of the candidates going, instead of coming to the sheriff's office and doing a FOIA request like they should, they went and behind a closed door, maybe set the code on whatever they were doing to get a little information out of the judge, which was totally immoral.
Ms. Seneca, you have 30 seconds, sir.
Really don't know what you can say to that. It kind of speaks for itself. If you're not able to trust these relationships you have with the other leaders that you are working day in and day out with, what goes on in Commissioner Court stays in Commissioner's Court. It doesn't need to come out and surface into the rest of the workplace. Like I said, this is where you've got to be able to build those relationships and keep them in the.
Mr. Buster, this question comes from Sheriff Williams. In the last form, you made the statement that when given a budget, that should be it. We shouldn't be going back to Commissioner's Court asking for more money. And yet in less than 20 minutes, you stated that one of your first acts as sheriff would be to hire a captain. This captain who would chase down escaped inmates when there was nothing else to do, according to you, would need to be compensated. There's currently no position in the sheriff's office, no such position in the sheriff's office. So wouldn't that require asking for more money and an increase in the budget?
Absolutely not. There should be a cabinet spot there already, and it's called restructuring. We have positions that's going on the field. We talked about that Monday. You don't have to raise money because you promote somebody. But we gotta find somebody. We talked about working with all these task force, but we still have an inmate that's missing. That's very shocking that you'd ask that question. Thank you.
Sheriff, you have 30 seconds per rebuttal.
I don't know what he's gonna restructure. I mean, we have one captain position and that's a chief deputy. They keep bringing up this inmate. It's not from lack of trying. We run thousands and thousands of leads and I have it all the way up the chain to where they're doing a whole lot to try to find this cat. If my command staff that was on the ground had done a little better job of informing me, we could have made a little bit different decisions.
We're at the 30-second mark. Thank you. Thank you again. Just to reiterate, I just asked those questions. I felt like I was in the hot seat, not the candidates, and I hope after this I can still call all of you friends. This concludes the cross-examination period of the sheriff's debate. We will move to closing statement. You each have 1 minute. Mr. Buster, you'll be first.
One thing we haven't talked about is all three of us have worked for multiple agencies. One of us have failed to talk about that because it was very, very short. Very short. Matter of fact, they didn't finish the FTO program. So when you look at experience, think about that. I've been open and honest with everything I've said. I think we need to restructure. I think we need to put citizens first. Our employees are the most valuable asset we have. Money is not. Any business person will tell you that you can, as long as you create a great work environment, your employees will stay. Does I want more money? Everybody wants more money, but just because that doesn't mean you don't go to work. So as you listen tonight and you digest what's been said, think about it. Think about honesty and openness. And I'm number 3 on the ballot. Thank you.
Ms. Seneca, you have a minute.
The vision that I have for the Grove County Sheriff's Office, I want to take it back into the communities, get back into our schools, become one team with these other entities that our community has. I touched base on it last time. We have volunteer fire departments that have these meetings, and they have issues and concerns that go on in the sheriff's office, that's falling on deaf ears. So we need to be getting into their meetings. Back to schools, we still have 2 schools currently in Corridor County that do not have an officer there. I know they have tried, that person decided to change their mind and went to a different agency. Myself, when I left in June of 22, I took some time off, to recoup. Like I said, my grandfather passed away April just before then. But I am currently with the Bosque County Sheriff's Office, and that started in May. So it has been, several months there as well.
Sheriff, a minute.
I thank y'all very much for coming here tonight to listen to us. I hope you really paid attention to what was going on. I'm gonna tell you my experience. He's talking about this little short stint not getting out of FTO with Gatesville PD. Johnny Burks offered me my job back and I came back and took it. This is where I wanna be. I have been your sheriff for 8 years. What you have is, and I respect these people standing on this stage just for this fact, is they stuck their neck out and put their name on a ballot and want to try to lead this county. But here's your choice. You got a chief of one. You've got a dispatcher from Bosque County. Or you got a 2-term sheriff here with lots of experience at it. Make you both count. Thank you.
Sure. That was closing remark, but 2 of you were referenced. I'm gonna give you each 30 seconds, and we need to stop it there so we can move to the congressional debate. Mr. Buster Duper.
I'm proud to be a chief of one. Be honest with you, it's where I'm needed, where I was needed, and now I'm needed to get the county level. My last work environment doesn't count all the experience I bring with me behind that. So, thank you.
Nigga?
Just a dispatcher. I hope there's no other dispatchers in here that currently work there. As you were just a dispatcher. I have an advanced peace officer license. I'm not just a dispatcher. I also have field training officer, basic instructor, and a mental health, course that I took 40 hours in. So there is more than what is being led on. If anybody wants to talk afterwards, I'm more than happy to step down and speak with you afterwards. I'm gonna go over what my credentials actually are.
Please give a round of applause to all 3 candidates running for the primary,